back. Another installment of the Titan Investment Experience podcast. Parker and Zach here.
We got a special episode. We'll be delving into some earnings for this upcoming week. There's a lot of big companies posting quarterly earnings this week, and there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, so I think we're looking through Monday, and honestly, not as many big companies. So I think we're gonna just jump straight to Tuesday. Yeah, let's look. So first, we got Pfizer. That's a big one.
Yeah, I'm looking at Pfizer, and they've had recent jumps with the deal that they have with BioNTech and the U.S. government for their vaccine.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of funding right now, and I think we could honestly look to. We're considering in our personal accounts opening up some positions and stuff in terms of options.
Yeah, Pfizer looks like a really good position that we're liking personally. And, looking at them fundamentally, they're, pharmaceutical company.
Great position right now.
They're in a great position. They can capitalize on this growth. And that industry, has been growing amid the coronavirus. It's one of those industries that's immune and even, benefiting from the recent pandemic. So, I'm pretty bullish on Pfizer personally. I'm looking for them to do well.
And another company I'm bullish on is actually McDonald's.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of research on their charts and stuff recently. They look like they're in a really good position to take off.
Yeah, and the thing with McDonald's is, we're in a weird situation right now with the pandemic, but looking at restaurants especially and, eating habits of Americans lately, you couldn't really go into restaurants the way you did before. And McDonald's was one of those places that, never really had to close. It was always open, easy to access, cheap food. And so it was a staple among people who had to stay home due to the coronavirus. So you could swing by, grab dinner at McDonald's, or on your way to work, grab McDonald's.
And I think they've really benefited too from the Uber Eats movement and Grubhub movement and all that stuff. A lot of people take quick to go food from there. It's ready quick. They get it quick from Grubhub to go whatever, So,
and I feel like if you've gone to McDonald's, you probably realize that they've cut back a lot of items on their menu.
Exactly,
and that was early on, probably back in March or April even, that they cut back a lot of items, which would ultimately reduce their costs and bring them to a better price point.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I think that was a good move by management there.
Definitely. So
what are you looking at for after hours on Tuesday? Anything?
Yeah, so actually AMD, that's a big one right there. AMD. So we just saw them jump actually 17% on Friday.
Yeah, that was an insane jump. I don't know.
Yeah.
You think they're going to have room to move?
I think they might either stay even where people think that they're evenly valued. They might jump though, honestly. If they reported good earnings, I think they definitely got room. They got hype behind them, momentum. They just broke a huge barrier. The last month and a half, they were sitting in that little rut.
Yeah, 50 to 55 around there, right?
50 to 55 range, and they just broke out of that. So they could have some momentum going.
Yeah, they're over 60, man. They were insane on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
And, Visa's another one. Their earnings everyone's still spending money online, and a credit card you're going to use. Probably credit card use is up, no one's using cash and anything.
Yeah, and I was going to say, even though consumer spending overall might be down in certain areas, I think that Visa is going to actually benefit a lot. I think we'll see a jump in Visa personally.
Right.
I'm pretty bullish on Visa, MasterCard, a lot of the digital payment companies. So
yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of movement with Square, and I think Visa could fill some gaps going up,
Oh, definitely. And that leads into eBay, actually, with the e-commerce type of aspect, people spending and buying online.
Right.
Got eBay. I think eBay, we've seen them on an absolute tear the last 3 months.
Right. Yeah, they had a little dip back down.
Yeah.
It might have been a week or two ago, but they were up over 60. They were moving nice, Yeah, I'm looking at eBay, and, it seems like they're in a good position where people are at home, people are selling stuff, people are getting rid of stuff, people are trying to figure out a side hustle, how to get extra income.
Oh, yeah. And I remember we were pretty successful. We played eBay a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, eBay was a good move. And going into earnings, it seems like they'll be a good move as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then a big company, Starbucks. How are you feeling on Starbucks?
Starbucks is a little iffy for me. I think that people are still going to Starbucks, and I think they'll report a decent earnings that they might stay on par with the analyst estimates, but I don't know. Overall, I think they're going to get hit. I think long-term, they're a great company, great investment long-term. I think
absolutely.
They're in a great position, but I think I'm just feeling like maybe in the current position over the next 6 to 7 months where they're just recovering, I think they may have a little bit of a rocky road.
Yeah, I agree. They had some restructuring where they were gearing more towards takeout and everything, of course. But I don't know if they implemented it soon enough for them to curb any losses.
Yeah, I remember I read they were actually permanently closing down a bunch of their stores earlier in the pandemic.
So I feel like they might have a revenue slump, but they could be have still maintained good profitability.
And I think
we'll have to see.
Yeah, and I honestly think this is a good time to hop in long term if you want to get in like for the next like 10, 15 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
100%. I think we'll see massive growth with them after they recover and after they get back to it, because they're a huge staple in the community, especially with it doesn't matter, so many different demographics love Starbucks and drinking coffee, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and their leadership, their management up at the C level and the C-suite, they've handled that really well. The growth over the past 10 years has been unprecedented.
Yeah.
And they've managed to keep costs down and integrate technology through the Starbucks app. And they've really streamlined a lot of the processes, back and front end. So I think long term they're good, but heading into earnings now, not so sure. I'm not really too bullish on them.
Yeah, a little iffy. So I think we'll move to Wednesday.
Yep.
Before open, we got Shopify.
Oh, Shopify.
Big e-commerce. I don't know.
I feel like revenue is going to be a huge jump in revenue, but
I do too. But I think how much of that is already accounted, though.
Right. Yeah, they're overextended. As a tech stock, and I'm not sure how much profitability they're going to have considering everything that's going on. I just don't know how comfortable I am moving into a position like that, given at what multiples they're trading at. They're nearly $1,000 stock, and they make. Their negative 1 cent EPS.
Estimated for this quarter. Yeah.
So I'm not too.
I mean, I think they got some potential though. I think we could definitely see them depending on if they do beat and by how much,
right?
And how people think that they'll be in the future and fare after COVID, how things are looking going into next quarter.
Yep.
I think that they could definitely see themselves, because right now they're at 930-ish, so I think they could definitely see themselves going back up to their highs of like over 1,000 if they do beat, but also see them dropping and taking a dip lower if people don't think they're valued fairly right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we'll see.
And it's also going to depend a lot on the outlook, that they're looking at for the next couple of years, and we'll have to see what they report.
Yeah, and definitely. Yeah, next we got Boeing. I think that's a super interesting.
Oh my gosh, Boeing! They had like if any stock was a V-shaped recovery, it was Boeing. It was straight up, 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 up forever. But I mean, with all this horrible news. A lot of airlines are grounding the 747. They're not going to manufacture it anymore. They're having issues all over the place. I see them missing earnings. And, people aren't ordering their planes the way they were anymore. Embraer and Airbus have even, been doing a little better than expected. So I expect a miss from Boeing personally.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that there's just too much uncertainty. Like if you look at what happened where they were going to need that huge bailout from the U.S. government, and then all of a sudden they weren't going to need it, considering all the loan money and everything that they were getting and all the capital they were raising. I think that they did a good job getting out of the rut, but I don't know if they're a good investment or play yet, at least for the short term.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we got GE. That's an interesting one moving into, they have a huge aviation segment, which is probably going to do horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a lot of consumer staples, like appliances that should be doing okay, considering that, new homes are still being built in the U.S. and the economy hasn't faltered to a halt yet.
Yeah, and we've seen a huge move of people buying more furniture and appliances and things of that nature. Like, for example, like when you take like Home Depot and Lowe's stocks over the past 3 months have been booming. And I think that they're going to benefit from that type of move as well. People staying home, buying their products and purchasing more things from them. I've been seeing a lot of unusual options activity too, where they have a huge volume of calls being played, like pretty consistently actually throughout each week for next year, January of 2021.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people seem to think that they're going to jump up to around 10 or 11-ish.
Right, yeah.
By next year.
Pre-pandemic levels, above that, I think.
Yeah, a little like about even with those. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they'll make a recovery eventually, but I think they'll do well. I wouldn't say I'm bullish, but I also wouldn't say I'm too bearish either.
All right, that's a mixed one. It's a mixed one for sure.
Yeah. And I think looking at next, we have Spotify.
Spotify, yeah.
I'm actually kind of bearish on Spotify,
really?
To be honest. Yeah, and I think that they're trading in terms of their multiple, and I think that they're trading way too high. I think they're really overvalued right now.
I feel like personally they're going to have a huge jump in ad revenue, especially everyone staying home. They've really taken over the podcast space, and they really dominate this marketplace. But I feel like the streaming music, Apple Music and all these other competitors have come in and taken a lot of the market share that they used to dominate. And my only worry for them is, their rising costs. They're signing multi-million-dollar deals that are only putting them further and further in the hole. And, I don't know if the ad revenue is going to gap up for them, that gap.
Well, we see they're trying to take the route of bringing individuals to carry, and obviously they're already an established business and corporation,
Right.
but they're trying to take this route of bringing in individuals such as like Joe Rogan or these type of big people to come in and carry the company in the podcast sector and carry it to become larger, when really we see it usually works where a company establishes itself first, and even though they already established, but
yeah, you would usually see the influencer go to them,
first,
right?
yeah, and that's what we saw with like Microsoft with Mixer, which is their gaming platform, actually failed, where they attempted to bring some large streamers and stuff onto their site for gaming, and then Microsoft had to end their whole Mixer platform and completely disassemble it because they're trying to use the influencer to grow the actual platform. So I don't think Spotify will have that whole problem, obviously, because they're in such a good position in terms of that industry and where they're at, even though they do have a growing number of competitors. I think that they'll post good numbers and they'll have good revenue, but I do see what you're saying with the profitability and things. I think that they'll probably have a lower profit.
One interesting thing that you were saying in terms of competitors is, we really see this as like a big move by Spotify, bringing in Joe Rogan, for example. Those are big money moves, and, they're bringing it so they can maintain, that foothold, that stronghold in the marketplace. And, that might not be sustainable if they're going to have to shell out tons of money, but we'll see.
Yep.
And I think moving next, another big company is we're looking at Six Flags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm bullish on an amusement park company during coronavirus, right? You are too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to beat earnings 300% beat. What do you think? That's what I'm doing. I'm moving my whole portfolio to Six Flags. All right, disclaimer, that was a joke. Six Flags, I'm extremely bearish on them.
Yeah,
I expect them to do horrible.
They're going to get destroyed.
I mean, I don't know how they could post a profit.
Yeah,
the question is, how big is their loss?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's going to be the question.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, they're not posting.
Yeah, they're not going to do well. And I mean, the thing with these companies, you see a lot of these very cyclical companies that are getting destroyed by the coronavirus. As right now, it's a matter of whether they are able to cut, their costs in order to, maintain like some level of profitability or, sustain less losses, mitigate their losses. But if these companies can't cut their fixed costs and have high level fixed costs, they're screwed,
Very true.
And one more one that I'm looking at Wednesday is Blue Apron.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty bullish on Blue Apron in terms of revenue. I feel like they've had good growth. Millennials staying home, having to cook. I feel like they've had a good growth in their customer base, but I feel like their costs are pretty high.
Yeah, their cost is too high to actually sustain a good profit. Right. They'll have a good revenue, though. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on Blue Apron.
Yeah.
They'll do well.
I mean, I think last earnings they beat and they had a huge leg up, but then, they just tumble right back down.
Yeah. We could see the same, though, if people think that they could sustain this past the coronavirus, if they have good news. Maybe a lot of analysts and big banks and investors think that they're sustainable. Maybe they have some good news about maybe they're cutting costs down.
Yeah, that could be interesting if they're able to.
We'll see. I mean, everybody reacts to this earnings is going to be interesting. Everybody.
The only thing is how shipping costs have gone up and logistics.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they'll be able to handle a hit from that. And are you looking at anything after close?
Oh yeah, I'm looking at a few companies, especially Facebook right here. You got one of the FANG companies. So I mean, personally, I know they're getting hit hard right now with the in terms of the ad boycotts and things of that nature. But I'm still thinking that at least for the long term, of course, you're betting on Facebook to do well and keep growing. But even now, I think that when you're betting on Facebook, you're betting on something that basically no other company is giving you.
Right.
That interface that they have, that the people that they bring together, the amount of the users that they have, it's insane. It's crazy. And even with that bust that they're having of with ads and all that stuff of large corporations, somewhere between 50 to 75% of actually all of their ad revenue comes from small to medium sized businesses.
Right, and individuals spend a lot on ads too, right?
Yeah, it's huge. And a lot of these small companies actually can't. And I'm sorry, it's actually 75% of their ad revenue comes from small to medium sized businesses. Right. So I think that a lot of those small to medium sized businesses can't mess around with all the like
The boycotts,
boycotting. They can
they don't
afford
have
that,
the
so-
image, and I mean
Yeah.
the thing is, Facebook is so dominant with their algorithm,
Yeah,
with the way the Facebook pixel is established, and how they really run the ads in an effective manner that no competitor can really hit on these days. And that algorithm is so on point that it generates sales like no other. So
yeah,
ultimately, I feel like it's going to be what the company posts as the 2021 outlook, 2022
exactly.
outlook.
Yeah.
What they're looking at in the future, I feel is like what we're really going to be looking forward
Yeah.
to, because these small hits in revenue now aren't going to be life or death for Facebook. But
Yeah, and I think that probably all the large tech stocks and a lot of the large cap stocks like that, we're going to see them fluctuate a little bit because they seem to be so overpriced right now.
Right.
So even if they post a good earnings, they'll probably fluctuate and drop. I mean, it could provide a good entry depending on how much they drop. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. And then that leads into PayPal, another electronic payment company.
Oh gosh,
You
I
think-
expect PayPal to do extremely well.
I
I'm
do too.
very bullish on PayPal.
I am as well. I'm extremely bullish on PayPal. I think that they have a huge competitive advantage over a lot of people. They're in their sector. They're super.
They're dominant.
Yeah, they're just dominant. I don't know how else to put it. Great business structure. Really caters to the customer. Super easy to use. I think everybody's been using PayPal a lot over these past few months, and I think that they're gonna see some huge growth.
I agree. I totally agree. I feel like they are in a position to take full advantage of the position that they're in.
And then we also have Qualcomm.
Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen in that industry a good amount of movement, and they're not, they're tech, but they're not too overextended,
I don't think so either.
And I expect Qualcomm to do well.
Yeah,
Nothing crazy.
Yeah, nothing. I think they'll post solid earnings.
Mhm.
I don't think.
I think a beat, but nothing like insane.
Yeah, and I think people will stay pretty confident in them. Maybe they'll grow a little bit. They probably won't make any huge moves.
All right.
They'll probably consistently start to just keep legging up.
I agree. Are you looking at anything else Wednesday after close?
I see United Rentals.
Yeah, United Rentals. That's basically another Six Flags right there.
We'll see
I mean, that's like a cancer in the market. That's Hertz 2.0 practically. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, they're struggling right now.
Yeah, like I mean, who would invest in that company right now? I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, like a lot of people might be like, "Oh, Hertz 2.0, dump my money in." So Thursday's another huge day in terms of earnings. What are you looking at?
Yeah, so before open, we actually got UPS. And looking at UPS, I'm actually really bullish on them. I think if we look at the results that FedEx posted, I think we're going to see pretty similar results, pretty similar beaten earnings. And they've actually had more time to bring in more of a profit and more of a revenue.
Right, take advantage of this whole stay-at-home and e-commerce movement.
Yeah, so I think that we're definitely going to.
Yeah, we were bullish on FedEx going into earnings, and we're definitely bullish on UPS. Similar structure, and hopefully they have post good numbers.
Yep. And then another before open, we got Procter & Gamble.
Ooh, Procter & Gamble's going to be huge.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Another one that I know we're both super bullish on. I think that with everything, the stay-at-home type of new lifestyle, they're definitely going to benefit. Like you hear about the shelves just empty, like
all
their products are gone.
Everyone needs soap, like all those like at-home products.
Yeah, all the necessities,
the
just
staples,
be staying home. Yeah, I think that they're going to post a huge profit. I think they'll beat by a lot. I think that they're that what the analysts are expecting them to hit, I think it's a little bit under either way. So I think that they'll blow it out of the water personally.
Yeah.
So
that'll be something definitely to look into.
Yeah.
We're also looking at AstraZeneca. They're a big name when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine. But the thing with AstraZeneca is they might post better numbers in outlook and revenue and everything, but they mentioned that they're going to produce the vaccine at cost, sell it at cost.
Yeah, sell it at cost.
So they're not going to reap
as many benefits as we'll see like a Moderna probably
or
like
Novavax.
Or Novavax, yeah.
So they're a good company. I'm slightly bullish, but I don't expect anything insane from them.
Yeah, I don't either. I think
I just think if they post profitability and with the hype surrounded by them,
I think a jump.
day.
Yeah, we'll see a jump. Probably back down to previous levels, but they'll probably take a quick jump.
After close, some of your favorites are posted, right?
Yeah, we got Amazon. I'm extremely, extremely bullish on Amazon.
Really?
I think a lot of people are underestimating. I know that they've just had a huge run up, but they've just had a huge leg back down. And they're still sitting at 3,000, super expensive, really highly valued. But in my opinion, Amazon should be, and I think will be, by the end of 2020, the most valuable company in the world.
Wow, that's a hot take.
Yeah, I think that they'll surpass Apple by the end of this year. I think that they'll be sitting close, but I think Amazon, the way that their business is run, the way that they focus on the customer, the way that they're structured, it's perfect for this type of environment.
Yeah.
And then they're going to just continue to grow strength. Like the Prime membership is something we've never seen, never. The way that they're giving out free shipping and the amount of times that people order while using free shipping with only a one-time payment, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They're in a super interesting position, and they just capitalized on this whole situation. I expect revenue to be through the roof, and ultimately they're, a disruptor, they're a game changer. But the only thing that concerns me in terms of a bullish outlook, is, an uptick in their cost, especially given their
and I think we could see a little bit of a rocky road in terms of their profitability because with everything that's happening, the amount of things that they're shipping, I think that they could definitely see a lower profit, even though they have a very high revenue. But I think that take that with a grain of salt and look at it as a positive. I think that investors at least will look at it as a positive.
Right. So, looking towards the future, I could see how they benefit in the long run.
Yeah, and I think they will. So, I mean, that leaves the other biggest company in the world next. We got Apple. What do you think about Apple?
I mean, personally, I'm not too bullish on Apple heading into earnings because I just feel like the way Apple is structured, long term, it's a great structure, but they're really structured highly towards retail, and I feel like they just haven't had that huge uptick. They haven't. It's not like they released their 5G iPhone or that they've had a huge jump in revenue recently from any new products released. I feel like they're a stable company and they're going to do well. They're not going to get destroyed at earnings, I think, but I don't expect them to beat.
Yeah, I think that they'll definitely post a profit. Personally, I'm not super bullish right now on Apple for this particular earnings season, but I think that they're definitely gonna in the future. They just have such a competitive advantage in that field with their ecosystem, their positioning in terms of like iOS, iMessage, FaceTime, all that stuff, and that's what we're really seeing them shift. Where as people take more and more time in between each iPhone purchase now, we're seeing those iPhone sales stagnate each year.
Right.
Since about 2017 or 2018, they've definitely stagnated. And I think that they're definitely going to jump with the 5G release.
Right.
But after this year, it's probably just going to be more stagnant, and they're going to start to, which they are already doing. They're going to need to start to focus more on wearables like AirPods, Apple Watches, things like that, and then they're going to also have to focus on services.
Right. Yeah, and a lot more probably more software oriented stuff.
Yeah, and I think that you see that them taking that turn with like what the company JMF just went public, which they do a lot of distribution for Apple. They're actually the main distributor, and they work on configuring the iOS to better suit the needs of larger groups of people like hospitals, government agencies, and things of that nature. And I think Apple's going to start shifting in that direction because they're going to need to make profit in other ways than just strictly selling iPhones.
Right. Yeah. So I could see more of a shift towards software away from hardware in the future for Apple to maintain that profitability.
100%.
Even though I expect them to maintain that strong foothold within the retail space.
Oh, I think they will. Yeah.
So then you're looking. I mean, you're big into tech. What are you looking at for Alphabet Group?
Yeah, I think they'll do well. I think Google is just so dominant in terms of the way they make money from ads is just
unbeatable.
It's unbeatable, especially in that space. I mean, you have Facebook doing well with ads, but I think that Google just does it different. The way that they carry that ad revenue and the way that they build up their platform and their structure.
And Google's search engine, it's just every year it becomes more and more dominant. You see Mozilla Firefox fall off. You see Microsoft Edge fall off. You see Yahoo search fall off, but every year.
Yeah, Google just continues to grow. And I think they'll just continue to eat up more market share as people are on the internet, as people are using Google. I think they'll do well. They'll post a profit. I don't know. They're at their all-time high right now. They're around their all-time high.
You know what they're at?
They're a little bit above 1,500, mid 1,500s. Yeah. So I think they'll do well. I think Google is probably actually the least
overextended.
I'd
say they're a little underrated. They have so many investments into AI and startups.
And I think a lot of people take Google for granted. Like they look at the Apples and Amazons and they don't invest as heavily into Google. But obviously Google's a great company, $1 trillion business. I think they'll do well though with this earnings. I think they'll beat. I think maybe we won't see a huge move in the stock. Yeah. But definitely, obviously, long term, great company.
Absolutely. And then one more I'm looking at is Gilead.
Yeah.
And normally I wouldn't really be talking about Gilead, but granted, it's height of the coronavirus right now, and they were going back and forth for a while. I don't know if you remember. It was
Yeah.
a report. Oh, Gilead's remdesivir is helpful for combating coronavirus,
Yeah.
or it helps with the symptoms. And then it didn't help. Yes,
Yeah.
it helps.
It was back
But now
and
the
forth.
FDA approved that it does help, right?
Yeah,
So
they did approve that. And I think that'll be a huge game changer for them. I think they've kind of fallen off in the race a little bit. They're going to have to gain a little bit more hype. Whether I haven't been keeping up track in terms of what
Right.
phase that they're on, but I think once they release, obviously everything catches hype so easily, especially now with these these companies releasing,
pharmaceutical companies.
yeah, these pharmaceutical businesses.
I think it's going to be really interesting looking at Gilead heading into earnings, considering that a lot of the other big names that we talk about when we look at coronavirus, such as Novavax, AstraZeneca, and Moderna, we look at a cure and we look at, a vaccine. We're trying to prevent the disease, but with Gilead's drug, they're really like fighting the disease after it's already, taken a hold of someone. And, that's a really interesting what they're doing in terms of that. And, their drug is insanely expensive. It was like $3,000 or something, and, they got approved only recently, but we're going to have to see if, that's factored in yet, if that uptick in sales is factored in, or if companies even, maybe private companies stockpiled it. We don't know that yet, but we're going to have to see if they had a huge jump there or not.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on them.
So, yeah, I think that wraps up Thursday. What are you looking at for Friday pre-market?
Yeah, so before Open Friday, we're looking at ExxonMobil.
Yeah.
Me personally, I know you have a different stance on it. I'm pretty bearish on ExxonMobil.
You're bearish on ExxonMobil.
I'm pretty bearish.
All right, well,
So,
I mean...
why do you think they're going to be?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I love the environment, but I love oil too.
Okay.
And, if you look at Halliburton, how they performed recently at earnings, a lot of people expect them to miss and expect them to do horribly. They had a nice jump after that. I see that I personally look at ExxonMobil to, present a good opportunity. I think they're going to jump and, people are going to realize that, even though oil prices were low, they're up over $40 a barrel again. And even though consumers aren't traveling as much, there's still a good amount of, Americans driving on the roads. The roads aren't desolate, they're still posting profit. And it's not like they have a huge increase in cost due to the coronavirus like other companies.
I should I'll revise my statement. I think that I'm bearish for now, but definitely looking into the future. I think that they definitely have an opportunity if they do it right. I think we saw Halliburton do this too. I think if they project that there's potential there for the future and that they're going to recover and they're going to recover fairly quickly, and they give investors and shareholders that hope, I think we could see them jump.
Right.
I think that
short term, given where we're at, I like ExxonMobil given the metrics.
Okay.
Long term, I hate ExxonMobil. In 10 years, I think they're horrible.
Why?
I just feel like we move towards, I think they're tanking. We move
towards
away from electric vehicles, and I think we move away from fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Definitely another big name for Friday that's going to be very interesting is Pinterest.
Yeah, I think Pinterest is going to post a huge profit.
I think I'm super bullish on Pinterest.
Definitely jump up, make a leg up probably out of earnings. I think depending on how people react, but I think they'll react positively.
I feel like they're not as overextended as a lot of these tech stocks are.
Definitely.
And I feel like, their ad revenue is decent. And I just feel like everyone's, they take advantage of multiple things. Everyone being at home, everyone's on the internet more. But Pinterest gives people an outlet, a creative outlet, that's sort of missing right now because you can't really go out and do anything. And they can go on there and find a lot of creative and resourceful things on there. And I feel like they're going to help post a huge beat.
Yeah, and I think that just like the innovation that they provide, like it's really, and I think that's why we've seen them survive. Like it's so different than like the eBays, Facebooks, all these other online companies and social media companies and apps. They're just so different. They provide a space for people to really connect on a different level and show creativity, maybe that they might not be able to show on in other ways on other apps and things like that. So I think that people have definitely been going to Pinterest for maybe like at-home meals, like maybe like at-home crafts, things like that. So I think they'll post. I think they'll do well. I'm bullish on them.
One more company I think that we're looking at, Under Armour.
Yeah, I'm very bearish on Under Armour.
I'm extremely bearish on Under Armour.
I'd say like Six Flags level bearish. Maybe a little less.
Maybe worse.
Maybe worse than Six Flags?
Worse than Six Flags.
Yeah.
Because, you can't get much worse than Six Flags, but you got Under Armour.
Yeah, and I think even just in general, not just what's happening kind of put the icing on the cake in terms of just the bad news that's hitting Under Armour. I
Yeah.
mean, you have Nike just stealing market share every single quarter. Market just taking more and more.
Nike and Adidas
yeah.
run this market. Years ago, Under Armour, they delved into the market pretty heavily, going after big name athletes. Curry, they went after Curry.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
And, so they had these big names that came for them and, that helped carry the brand. But recently they're not hitting home with consumers. And I'm looking at a few things. I'm looking at, there's not really sports going on anymore. So they're not selling any merchandise on that end. Little kids aren't playing sports, so they're not selling soccer cleats right now. They're not selling basketball shoes really on the whole. Another thing that, we saw Nike miss at earnings and go down after earnings were posted. If Nike is going to miss at earnings, you bet your ass Under Armour is going to get destroyed at earnings,
Yeah. And I think when we look at it, there's just in general, there's no reason for me to go to Under Armour instead of Nike or there's no competitive edge that
there's
they
no
have.
competitive, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't see any difference between them and then the next. I just don't see it. I don't think Under Armour's I think Under Armour's on the downtrend.
Right, especially now. All their retail ends are closed. You look at Nike and they have the Nike sneakers app. They have very hyped shoes that people line up to buy. They go on their app and they wait till it drops. You don't see that with Under Armour. You see that Nike has the Nike running app, fitness apps. I'm a member of, Nike's promotional deals. You get free shipping. You get all kinds of deals. And, I've bought Nike stuff online, but I've never even thought about buying Under Armour stuff online.
Yeah, and I'm super bullish on Nike, and I think that Nike just going to continue to overrun.
Right,
I think we'll see them.
And, probably as we see Under Armour lose market share, it'll go straight towards Nike.
Yeah, and so I think that wraps it up, though, for the earnings. That's it for the week. Those are some of the biggest names.
Yeah. All right, let's see how we do, and next week we'll have some more. We'll be right back at you.
All right.